Hello, my name's Elijah Izquierdo. My project is on Antarctic predator-prey relationships. This is an introduction to the different animals that I'll be speaking on today: the macaroni penguin, the Arctic fur seal, and the Antarctic krill. The fur seal and the penguins are the major predators of the krill, or are two of the major predators of the krill. That I'll be talking about today. But the krill have a lot more predators than just the fur seals and the penguins. They have whales, sharks, and many other animals that prey on them. I'm just focusing on the fur seals and the penguins because that's what was most interesting to me. And that's what intrigued me the most, so I wanted to focus on them. Predation, both predators, the macaroni penguin and the Antarctic fur seals, feed off of the krill populations in the South Ocean. The South Ocean being the ocean that converges with the Antarctic peninsula that the most of the research today is based off of, the area that most of it's based off of. Suffice to say, though, like I said earlier, the krill is not the only predator, is not the only prey that these two have. The fur seals and the penguins both eat fish and other animals in the area. The pictures here are distribution maps created by the article that I got most of my information from, by George L. Hunt Jr. The article is a discussion on the distribution of both the macaroni penguin and the Arctic fur seal in relation to the Antarctic krill population as well. So the Antarctic krill population is essentially the backbone to this entire research project. And you can kind of see here that the krill population is pretty centrally located, but it does have some offshoots on these radii. These radii are the main areas where George L. Hunt and his crew and the crew took in order to get the different population densities for the krill, for the Antarctic fur seal, and for the penguin. So you can tell here all three follow the same sampling technique. The only difference between them is for the Antarctic krill, they used echosonography under the water in order to tell the krill densities. For the fur seal and for the penguin, they used visual counting methods in order to find the different counts for population density around these radii. What you can also tell in accordance with these centrally located areas is that the Antarctic krill correlate heavily to the populations of both the fur seal and the macaroni penguin. So essentially you can tell that the fur seal and the penguin follow the krill very heavily in location and where they're going to locate for easiest food. But you can also tell these little offshoots by both the penguin and the fur seal show that not only are the krill their prey, but they have other prey. The fur seal. So the fur seal also shows that it goes out a little bit further compared to the penguin populations. That just goes to show essentially that the fur seals are a little bit more fit to go further out than the penguins are, more than likely because the penguin colonies are central to the penguin lifestyle, whereas the fur seals are able to go out a little bit further just because of not only their body mass but their size and stuff like that. It's safer for them to go out further, and they don't have to be as near the colony when they go out for food. For the most part, they do not go out super far, but they like to be in that middle first to third bracket of information. then from there, the Arctic fur seals are able to follow them out there. So what that means for the penguins is that even though they don't go out as far, because the fur seals go out far, they don't have as much competition in the middle or in the centrally located area. Now, this is going to go a little bit further into that, the competition and coexistence between the two predators. Now, in the past couple slides, you've seen that the population densities are very centrally located, very heavily for the penguins as well. The penguins are probably the most centrally located out of the three species. But that provides a form of coexistence between the penguins and the fur seals. Because while, yes, the penguins and the fur seals, when they're centrally located, are competing for resources, any of the seals that go out further for different food are able to get krill at that further location. So that's less competition that the penguins have to deal with in the centrally located areas. So because of that, not only, yes, the penguins and the seals are going to compete with other animals as well, as detailed in the diagram next to the words, like birds, whales, other fish, and other penguins. But when the seals when the seals go out farther, that's one less predator they have to worry about on that end. Now, another huge impact for the krill in recent years has been human impact. So, while yes, most of the predators in the Arctic region are oceanic predators or land-based birds, stuff like that, humans have become a pretty big predator for these krill as well. As you can see in the diagram on the right here, in the 1980s, the catching and fishing for krill was done pretty much around the entire region. But what happened is they wanted to be more cautious about krill populations, and thus they started fishing in just that peninsula area of the Arctic. And because of that, it actually caused a negative effect on the predators, because the predators are mostly located in that area. So krill populations were safe, but now predator performance and populations have possibly taken a hit. And that's what that shows directly here. That when we fish in those specific areas, it leaves less prey for the predators. And while yes, they have other prey that they can take advantage of, the krill are the easiest to get to. So the penguins specifically were having a very hard time preying on the krill. So the predator performance went down significantly for them. And overall, it just caused a bad product for the penguins. So this is just continued here, as shown from the diagram on the right, from an article about human fisheries management long term and its effect on predatory-prey interaction, which is the second peer-reviewed source that I got my information from, just because not only did I want to look at animal predators, but I wanted to look at humans as predators and how we are outcompeting natural predators, which can be a very, very bad thing for our populations. The hotspots for fisheries are the exact spots where the penguins forage for their krill over two different, and this is showing it over two different periods of time. Like I said in the last slide, the 1980s to the 2010s. Now, the decrease in the area where the fisheries were located originally is really bad for the predator populations, simply because when you in the past, in the 1980s, while yes, you were fishing in a lot more area, that would allow for a lot more penguins to also prey on the krill in their respective areas. So humans aren't really limited to an area, the penguins are, and when we heavily predate on the areas where they prey as well, then what's going to happen is a decrease in predator performance, an increase in them having to go out and get different prey, which then can affect their populations negatively. And that's kind of shown in these diagrams here. The reason behind all of this, though, is the over-cautioning. So the reason fisheries decreased their area of effect is essentially they were over-cautioning krill populations. They didn't want to kill krill populations because they didn't want them to go extinct, and they just so that way they had more krill to catch. So they thought that if they fished in a very small localized area, that it wouldn't have a bad effect on anything. And that turned out over the years to be wrong, simply because, well, yes, you can control where you fish. When you control where you fish for one species, any of the other species that benefit from the prey species are going to take a huge hit in that area, and the fisheries just didn't see it coming that they were going to negatively affect the penguin prey performance and populations and everything like that. So that is pretty much the end of my presentation, just an overview of the predator-prey interactions between not only the macaroni penguins and the fur seals, but also the human impact as a predator on those macaroni penguins. And not just the macaroni penguins, it's really a wide-ranging amount of penguins, different species of penguins that are affected by this. Macaroni penguins being the ones that I'm focusing on, yes, do take a hit, but any other species of penguin on that peninsula that is now being overfished is going to be affected by how controlled the fishing is. So overall, it's just not a good idea to control where the fishing is. It's better to fish in multiple different samples of water, so that way not only can we keep the krill population going, but we can also keep our predator population going, which as you know, a part of the ecosystem, the predator population is just as important as the prey population.